Hi everyone, my name is Nina Melendez. I am the Virtual Content Specialist for Multilingual Learners and English Language Learners for Math grades 9 through 12. Today we are going to be looking at Algebra 1, Week 26, Day 21 in our Intro to Quadratic Functions. And we are going to be looking at how to use Padlet in our Summarize, how to use Desmos in this lesson, and how to highlight keywords for our students like functions, x-intercepts, vertex, the words consider, and the words observations. So in this lesson, the first thing I would actually do is front load the vocab words to the students. So even before they get to their introduction launch, give them a review of the key vocabulary words that they will need for this lesson. Hopefully the students have already seen these words throughout the other lessons, and this would just be a review slide. Highlight what a function is, how they can identify a function. You can use one example or you can add multiple examples. Let them know how to identify the vertex, the zeros or x-intercepts. And then highlight that we are going to be talking about the word consider and observation within the context of this lesson. The reason we front load this is because in the introduction launch, the students will have to consider two functions. So they will be using their vocab words from the beginning. Now, I've highlighted the words in the same color as in the key vocabulary word slide. So if the students need to refer back to the slide, they can quickly find where that word is located to refer to its definition. In the explore portion of this lesson, so this is not in the lesson you have, but I would actually link in a Desmos graphing calculator so the students are able to work through these two examples and use resources. Some of our students might be working this at home and might not have access to a TI-84 graphing calculator. Therefore, the Desmos calculator will allow them to create their table using the tools at their disposal. I've also highlighted the keywords in the same color as the key vocabulary word slide. And I've also inserted organizers on how they can recognize the x-intercepts and the vertex. Now, in this one, I would show them, they have seen this explore already where they have to move the individual points to create the graph. But it's always good to review that with our students and to tell them to make a couple of observations. Ask them, what do they see? What do they identify? What inferences or what conclusions can they make out of this? Now, once they have completed this, we can always tell them to remember how to screenshot on their device. One thing that I like to do is that I like to set up a Google form at the beginning of the school year and sometimes at the middle of the school year again, where I have my students fill out how many devices or which devices do they use. That way I can find the commands and have them inserted into the lesson. That way they can always refer to the slide. Let me see how to screenshot on my device. Once they have that, they're going to ask to compare and connect, to look at the graphs and make observations. And it says, how did completing the tables first support you and your classmates in finding the x-intercepts and the vertex of the graph? Now, with this, a good way that you can do this for the students to quickly compare and contrast their answers without necessarily you having to go one by one and pick out their work, you can have students share their work in a Padlet. So I've inserted a link here that will open up a Padlet that I've created. And I have compare and connect. Look at the graphs and make observations. And then I put the question, the prompt, right underneath here. This is a good way for students to share their Padlet, because in Padlet, our students can click right here. They can add the title. They can put their name, or they can just upload a picture and pick a file from their computer. Now, This is really good because in Padlet, it allows you to actually allow whether you want students to comment on other students' work or not. So this is a really good way for them to share their work. Now, I would also include a Padlet in the second part of the summarize. The second part of the summarize says, to prepare for the summary, record your response on the focus question. What is important to pay attention to when graphing quadratic functions in factored form? So we are going to create a Padlet together. So we are going to go into Padlet. I'm going to open up. I'm going to go to Google, search Padlet. Now remember, in Padlet, you can log in with the email you use for your school. Right now, I'm logged into the DOE email. And to create a Padlet, we are going to click Make a Padlet. Now, the really good thing about Padlet is that it allows you to select the type of information and how you want it presented. So if you want the information to be in a certain order, or if you assign students different portions of a lesson and you want them to organize it in that order, this is a really good way for them to work collaboratively. For when they have to share their responses and comment on each other's responses, I like to select the grid because it just puts everyone's information there. Now, Padlet will usually give you a background. You can change this background. Now, for the title here, I would usually put summarize. And for the description, I would go ahead and actually copy the prompt. I would copy the prompt. That way the students don't have to be moving back and forth to try and find what the prompt is. And it'll pop up right there. You can add an icon right to the side. So this icon lets you add emojis and it'll pop up right there. And the good thing that I like about this here, let me minimize myself, is that you can select your fonts, color scheme, if you want the post to appear first or last. Now, if you want students to comment on each other's work, so in this summarized portion, I wouldn't have them comment. I would have them comment on the previous portion that we saw. In this portion, I would probably leave the comments off, but I would have students, I would be able to like something. I think that's a really good way of giving feedback without necessarily the students having to write a comment. You can say if you require approval from the moderator and filter profanity. Once you click next, you could click start posting. Now, I like to just obviously go here to where it says share, and you are going to be able to copy link to clipboard. Once the link is copied, you can go straight to your lesson. And I like to be very clear of where I want my kids to answer. So I click answer here, and I would insert the link right into answer here. That way, once the students click into answer here, the Padlet would automatically open and they can start participating in class discussion. I hope this is helpful for your students and a good way for them to connect and compare their answers and work collaboratively. Have a lovely day.